What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the shop. Today we're cutting the frame rail off the car. But before we do that, last time we just went through some odds and ends. So up here we rebuilt the steering box. That's back in the car now. Painted that up. I need to find my light so you can actually see what we're looking at in case it's a little dark. Painted that up. That's not doing a whole lot right now, but she's on the car, looking good. We put the frame, the motor mounts on. The trans cross members in and cleaned up as well. And one thing I didn't film was the brakes that we had previously done in here. Let me get the light better. We took that all apart. Nothing like doing something twice because the caliper, the rotor here, and the new spindle had started to flash rust just because it's been so wet and muggy. So I can actually do one of these. Where's the steering arm? If you get in from this side and the front side of the rotor, you can kind of see the spindle. So all we did was we took it all apart. I painted the spindle in place. That's all black now. I wire wheeled it, put it back together, did the caliper up all nice, and debated on painting the hub just right in here. Obviously not the rotor. Decided not to. We just hit that with a little bit of oil. That'll be fine. So did that on both sides. And then we also, the last time around, we took care of my stuff's on top of it. The rear package tray here, someone had absolutely butchered in a 6x9 speaker or something. I don't know what they were going for, but I patched that up, welded that in solid, ground it down. I still have a little more grinder work to do on it, but it's good enough for now. And now, like I said before, it is just a blank canvas to do whatever I want to do. Okay. So this guy, that frame rail there is fairly solid. I'm pretty confident in it. I haven't wire reeled the whole thing yet, but I feel okay about it. This one, the top flange here we have to weld to is gone. And even down here on the side, you're not going to be able to see it on camera, but I'm actually looking at it now from this angle. You can see daylight, like all right in here. It's really thin. And from the inside, you can actually see a line where the metal got real thin. We'll try to show that later. Right around here where your rear shackle goes on, and it's kind of double plated. Moisture has clearly gotten between the extra plating and the frame rail itself, and it started to rust out from the middle out. That's all blown apart. I think there's actually a hole right here you can kind of see. And the same thing on this side where this brace goes in. Moisture's kind of got between there and started to blow out in here. So we'll do a little bit more close up on that once I take it off. So you can buy frame rails for these. You can't buy partial frame rails. You can buy this brace, which I actually have. That's kind of cool. I didn't know that until just last week. But you can buy the full frame rail, but they're like $250. And I already kind of committed. Anything can be undone, but I already kind of committed to not buying frame rails when I welded the floor to it, and it kind of looked good over there. And that side really is in good shape. I'm not thinking I'm going to have to do a whole lot to the other side. And really, even this side, it's just from like here back. It's the last, I don't know, 15 inches or so, would you say? And it's also flat, luckily enough. Like there's no crazy compound bends in it. So I'm going to chop that off and try my hand at a little bit of fancy metal work now that we have a proper sheet metal bender. I had built that little one a while back on a cold weekend in the winter just for fun, and it worked well. It did what it was supposed to do, which was give me something to do to keep me occupied. And I've used it for some little light duty stuff, but trying to bend 18-20 gauge to any kind of accuracy is going to be tough. So now we have that beauty over there. Yay. And we're going to make use of it. So let's fire up the grinder. My glasses. And start cutting this thing off. I'm going to try to cut it basically right around where this plate is and just kind of keep it flat. And if I need to trim some more off later, I will, but we're going to try to keep it simple for right now. So, ear ball warning. to get on this side just a little bit. We're just going to keep that straight, I think. Looking through the crack. Nah, I don't like that. Woo. I'm going to block your view a little bit, sorry. A little spot. I bet the microphone did not like that. Well, there's no going back now. So in preparation for doing that, we made up a little jig too. Actually, you know what? I got my other gloves. There's some sharp edges on that. Nothing super heavy duty, but it should help me locate some things. Some of the more key features. Let's grab my gloves real quick. Get right where you are. So this should help me locate the where the bushings need to be. These are the original bushings, so they're probably a little bit sacked out, but it's better than nothing. Little bastard does not want to go in there. This side should go in easier because I already wire wheeled the inside of this one a little bit. And then that should fit right in there. And it more or less does. So now if I just run the bolt through, the hole in this thing is like exactly the size of the bolt, so there should be no play in that at all. And then if I line these up, These should more or less center right there. Which if I was smart, I would have taken it like to the inside edge or the outside edge. Is the only thing I wish I'd done, because these holes here are slotted. And I didn't do slotted holes on my jig here. I just kind of, actually, you know what? I'm gonna go from the other side. I'll let that one hold it for now. Well, it's still centered, so I call that good. All right, that's not going anywhere. And same thing on this one. Just for good measure. This really doesn't need to be much more than hand tight, just to make sure that it's pulled all the way through and it's flush. So that's that. She's in there. I can borrow that from you for a second. I can kind of show you now just how messed up that is in there. That's where this brace comes in. It's really blown out right there. And I don't know if you'll be able to make it out or not. There's some daylight right here. Oh yeah, you totally can. Daylight right there, and you can kind of see this line here and how ugly it is. So that's the whole reason for doing that. A little more blowout right there. And now you can't see around the plate, but on this side you can kind of see the blowout in there. So that's the whole reason for that. I'll pass that back to you. So now the only thing I have left to do is just kind of mark where my length is right here, which I'm going to probably just take a little piece of something and just weld a stop right there, just so I have something to kind of set the length, or I'll just measure it and it's fine. But the other night I made this. This is just a piece of oversized sheet metal that I cut out and marked center on it, and then took some measurements. These are basically going to be all my bending measurements. So I got to bend it on these lines to recreate this shape. And then this just came today. This is this brace right here. We kind of go right there like that. So rather than try to replicate that feature, Speedway had these for like 40 bucks, I think. And it was just complicated enough that it seemed kind of dumb not to just let someone else make it and buy one. So I'm gonna just make sure my marks are good, pull the bender out into a better spot, and we're gonna try to turn a piece of flat sheet metal into an OEM style frame rail. All right, so we got our sheet metal here. I'm not sure what these things were made out of originally, but I went ahead and just measured the thickness, and this matches up really closely. I'm sure that's thinner than it was originally, but I didn't want to go welding something to that original stuff that was a lot thicker than that. Had to transfer one set of lines to the other side, make sure my bend's right. So this will be the first time I've really done this. So luckily, bulk sheet metal is cheap. Actually, I'll do that one first. So if I screw this up, I've got more. And we'll just try again. Let's get it on a line. Sure, I like where I have it. I've played around with this thing, but like I said, I haven't done anything really for precision yet. So those are in. Probably need to have this thing bolted down, especially if we're doing something that's a little bit. All right, let me just check that angle. Yeah, that should be perfect. All right. So now I should be able to do this one. This thing would have been so nice to have like a year ago when I was really trying to make like some patch pieces myself. Like this just came from Harbor Freight, so if you're doing this kind of stuff, I got this on sale for like 250 bucks, and I can already tell you it's probably well worth the money. Jesus. this will be the interesting part, is trying to get this out of here. There we go. A little far with that one, but we can knock that back. We can knock that back later, I think. I might need to trim this before I go any further. Let's see if I can get this in here or not. I have to knock that back, I think. What, this? No, because this only goes up so far, so I left a little bit too much on there. So I'm thinking what I'm going to have to do is probably mark this and trim it and then come back to it. So I'm going to just measure this out. Like this is going to end up being the top flange of, it's going to end up being this over here, the very top of it, which is only about 1 inch wide. So stand by. I'm going to mark this 1 inch, cut it so I have room to get it back in there, and we'll be right back. All right, so we just trimmed those down. This will fit in there now. The question is going to be, can I put my bends in it and then get it back out again? I love doing this, knowing that there's like a bunch of people laughing like, huh, look at this idiot. Yeah. Well, it's either this or I resign myself to spending more money than I want to on an actual reproduction frame rail to only use that much of it. All right, sorry, I gotta stand on the stupid thing. I think what I'm going to do is intentionally not bend it all the way to hopefully let me get it out, and then I'll just bend it the rest of the way by hand if I need to. That should help me, at least a little bit. So this one will come out no problem. Oh, by the skin of my teeth does that fit. Now, the question is going to be, can I get it out after I do it? All right, let's find out. Neato. Sweet. Now I should be able to just kind of give it like one of these. Let's kind of force it together the rest of the way. And I can already tell that that's way too wide. So we up somewhere. So we won't be using that. It means all this shit we filmed was for nothing. So I gotta figure out where I that up. It's a touch too short too. Damn it. I could zip this in half and just weld it back together. Or I gotta do this all over again. All right, so I went ahead and just bent another one. What I did is when the metal was flat, I kind of measured in. It wasn't perfectly straight on the other side, but I measured in, kind of made a center line mark. And then I got cute with my measurements, and I screwed it up. So I took the measurement of the width of the original and then was supposed to divide that number in half and measure off the center line, because my center line was a good reference. And I think that what I did is didn't go right from measuring to transferring onto my workpiece, and I didn't divide it in half, or I used the wrong number or something. So I basically had the thing almost twice as wide as it needed to be. Yeah, but whatever, you learn. It says sheet metal's cheap. So this is what we came up with, and it came out really, really good. So just for reference, I've cut this a length too. So this is it, kind of next to this one. So it's not sitting perfect, and this has some extra stuff on the end of it still, but the length is pretty good. I actually had them up side by side and put a straight edge across them, and they were pretty solid. But I mean, that's pretty good. One side is a little bit wide, but that'll bend in just fine when I go to weld it together. So I'm pretty happy with that. So, all right, guys. So we lost the microphone here in the middle of this and didn't realize it. So we're getting the voiceover. All we're doing here is talking about how the existing frame rail had the flanges that butt up to the cross rail as separate pieces on either side, and then the tie together on the top was a separate piece itself also. And I built them as one piece. No real reason other than it was easier to do. I also kind of felt like doing it as one piece and welding it on gave it a little bit more rigidity in the back, but it doesn't really make much of a difference either way. So that's all that was. A little bit of how we're fitting up the extra brakes that we bought separately, and then we just go ahead and weld her up, and we carry on from there. This guy just sits right here, and then there's a this top hole right here is actually for, I think it's for an exhaust hanger or something, because that is on there too, and looks like there was a screw in it. So we just kind of augered out an oversized hole right there for that. There's a little nipple on that to fit into. So it sits flush. Sheet metal screw through the bottom hole, which I think that's supposed to be something else, but that's fine. And that's kind of what we've got, is this right here. So if we go compare it to this, I'm paranoid about the microphone cutting out. If there was no cross rail, and this is only sitting flush because the cross rail holds it up flush, but if there was no cross rail on there, you kind of see what we're getting at there. So pretty happy with it. I'll go see if I can throw a clamp on the car real quick. I should be able to get the big one. Oh, it doesn't fit. That's a shame. So it's not perfect. I got to do a little bit of finessing some of the edges, but that's kind of what we're looking at. And we can kind of, finesse it a little bit one side or the other, but I wish you can compare it better to that side, but that side is kind of a debacle because of the way the rear frame rail's coming off, which is not at all. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. So I'll have to just going to finish welding this, which I'm tempted to hold off. I'm actually, now that I say it out loud, I think I'm going to hold off on completely welding this back piece in. We've got all of this. Everything for back here is on its way. It's actually going to be delivered on Monday. Today's Saturday. So we already have the trunk and inner and outer wheelhouse for this side. Outer wheelhouse for that side. We've got everything else coming. AMD had a great sale for 4th of July weekend. And my wife lets me spend money when I'm nice to her. So that's all going to be here. I'm probably going to wait till that's here to actually finish weld this, because then we can kind of mock it all up and make sure our holes are on the right spot and everything lines up nicely. But I think for now, what I'm going to do is take it back off and just work on getting these holes drilled here for the bushings. And we'll come back and show that when we're all set, because I've also got to cut that pipe up. So I got to find something kind of big, because that's going to be like a inch and a quarter hole or something. I'm going to have a hole saw that'll do metal. So we'll find that out, and we'll come back, and it should look a little bit more like, or be ready to look more like a frame rail at that point. Even more so than it does now. I think it came out pretty good though. All right, I'm going to figure out how to drill a big hole in the metal. We'll be back. So we jumped ahead a few days. I had a lot of work off camera, just some ugly stuff. And I was also doing other stuff that was not related to this. So all the parts are ready. Cut, holes punched for plug welding. And we were able to drill our holes for the piece that holds the bushing. So that'll just kind of fit in there like that. And then it goes all the way through the frame rail. These are just kind of like the outer, almost like fish plates, just extra support. You can kind of see on here how it got frame rail, and then this extra piece here around where the round stock goes through for the bushing. So I was able to force a hole saw through there, and I don't have a metal hole saw. Luckily, I have a surplus of wood hole saws, and we're able to make it work. So I'm gonna fire this all together real quick. Like, which one is it? They're labeled. That's the inside. So that should be right there. And the only thing I've got to really make sure I'm careful of is that I kind of had this all lined up and mocked up at one point, but I feel like this went into there a little bit crooked once it was laying in there, so I might need to adjust where one of these is, which isn't too big of a deal. So this one should be okay. Go loose for now. There's another one right there. I need some different self-tapping sheet metal screws because the only ones I have left that aren't like gigantic in diameter are these gigantic in length ones. All right, so that one's good. And now she can go ahead and fire this guy on. So this guy, same thing, just the weld area with weld through, and then I got some black paint over here where it's gonna be hard to get to. And this guy lines up really nicely. Just really, I'm honestly overall really happy with the way that this whole thing came out. That fits like that. And then I should just stand this up. This will go through, and that hole is bigger than it needs to be if I stand that up all the way back that way, which that inside hole can be bigger. I'm not too worried about that. Oh, you know what I can do? Actually, it looks pretty good. I leave it like that. Yeah, you know what? I think what we'll do is it falls down like that, but if I pick it up, it kind of sits nice and straight. So I think that's all I'll do is screw this in right where my marks are. And then when I need to weld this, when I go to weld this piece in, I'll just make sure it's kind of blocked up like that. We'll have a little gap to fill, but that's not too big of a deal. Oh, see? Just did that on me. Okay, I see. So I might need to make a different hole. That's okay. Which one do I want to sacrifice? Like that. I should be able to just reuse this hole right here. Oops. Let's auger that one out a little bit. That is now in there. Oops. Nice and straight for my money. So that's kind of all there is to that. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to tack it together. I'm not going to finish weld it because I want to fit it on the car. All the sheet metal showed up for the rear, so I want to kind of mock it up, but that's all this is right here is just a little housing for the bushings, and you actually see that those go in nice and tight, but not so tight that they compress it that you can't get a bolt through. So the bolt still goes through nice. That's all that those would be. So let's fire up the welder real quick. Make sure I'm happy with everything. I'm going to use this one for comparison because I don't think it matters, but that little piece of round stock is kind of offset to one side, it looks like. It looks like it's sticking out more on the outside of the frame rail, so I just want to remember that. These are our little things probably, but I'll get the mic still on. We had a problem with microphones dying last time. All right, so we can do that. So actually, you know, the right thing to do might be stand it up like this. Hopefully it doesn't want to fall over on me, which it does. All right, that's okay. Do it like that. Anyway, oh yeah, just those little offsets, like 1/8 of an inch or whatever. It doesn't make a big deal if you only, have one thing that's kind of a little bit screwy. But you start stacking tolerances, you can run into issues, and you know, these cars weren't perfect in the factory. I've talked about that to death. But you still want to try to get everything to line up as best you can. It just it'll make my life easier down the road. All right, so let's see how much offset we have. Definitely offset more to this side. So now, yeah, I think I'm happy with that. All right, I want your eyeballs. All right, that's tacked. Now, I'm just going to leave that down like this. Move this out of the way and kneel in the metal dust. Want your eyes. Ooh, neat. Fireworks. That was fun. Go on the front side here. And then we do the same thing on the other front side. All right, cool. So that's good. I'll just throw some tacks on all this other stuff here. I don't want to tack this. I want to be able to take this off easily if I want to. I'm not sure there's going to be a great way to do that. Be right there. All right, that worked out okay. Another one over here. Actually, I don't want to do one right there, because I think I'm going to... There's no reason I can't leave those sheet metal screws in, more or less, for now, I guess. This one I can tack over here. All right, that's not going anywhere, and we'll leave the sheet metal screws in it, I think, or even better, I can do like one of these in the bottom. Hold on a second. Just want a little bit more oomph on this one. I had a sheet metal screw there that doesn't line up anymore. That should be all she needs to stay together until I'm ready to actually weld it for real. For now, the sheet metal screws can just kind of live in there. They won't hurt anything. It's going to be warm. There you go. So that's kind of that. And I'll put this side by side if you want to do like a little bit of a walk around. So you'll notice that the original one sits level when I set it down, and this one doesn't. And that's because this one still has, this is cross rail. This is a piece, this is a separate piece, and these little legs here make it sit level. So that's not a screw up. If I screwed it up, that's not where it is, but kind of get a good idea of what we were going for there. And I think it came out really, really cool. Let me squeeze behind you. I'll grab the cross rail just for comparisons. Nope, that is the taillight panel. This is the cross rail. Got our pile of sheet metal over here. Look at all that goodness. It's like Christmas. We've got everything over there. That's going to obviously be later videos, but absolutely everything for the rear of the car. Cross rail, all the filler pieces. I'm just going to gloss over the 2 full quarter panels. Taillight panel. I'm missing something else. Deck filler is there. So we've got absolutely everything. So this thing is, I got a lot of prep work to do, but this thing is going to start to come together rather quickly, I think. All right, so this is, sit like this. So this guy will go in, find something that's not hot. Goes in kind of like that. Oh yeah, look at that. You it might be hard to see, but the holes are there, and this got a little bent. I got to just flatten that back out. But the holes are obviously in the brace, the factory piece. If I line those up, it sits down flat right here. This I can probably just push up to the bottom of the frame rail there. And this flange that we made over here is covering up the other holes. I'll mark those and drill those at a later point, but that's kind of it, really. Kind of a loss for words. I've planned a lot of things out in my head and just kind of been able to make them work, but this one really came out well. I'm actually really, really impressed with myself. I am far from being a metal worker, but if I need to, I can make it happen. And trust me, how was that sitting? Trust me, if I can make it happen, you can make it happen. The only thing we had that we didn't have before to make this happen was that metal brake, which for the money, I think it's well worth it if you're going to try to save some money and not buy a full frame rail. So again, assuming that this thing goes in the car, and I might still do a couple little reinforcements in there. I might do some extra plating inside of here, just add a little bit of a rigidity. I might plate over the butt weld when we put it on the car. I'm not really sure yet. This thing is really, really solid. And once I weld it all the way together, it's only going to get more solid. So I really don't think we're going to have anything to worry about. But it is a frame rail. It is where the rear leaf spring connects to the car. So I'll take every precaution that I feel like we need. But these reproduction frame rails are $270, $300. And we're only going to use this much of it because the rest of the frame rail was good. There's no reason to screw with it. So take a chance, build something. Trust me, if I can do it, you can definitely do it. This wasn't any special skill. It was just thinking about it a little bit, being careful, and giving it a shot. So I'm not going to weld it in the car right now. I want to take the trunk floor and set it in place once I finish cleaning up what's there a little bit more. And then once the trunk floor is in place, I can kind of fit together a few pieces and make sure that this is exactly where it needs to be. I do have one of the leaf springs in the front pocket, so I can kind of bring it up into place with this clamped on, and just make sure everything lines up. And once I'm confident that this is all the things it needs to be lengthwise, the angle on the car, the way it sits off the existing frame rail where I cut it, at that point I'll start welding on the car, but we'll do that later on. Later on down the line, once I get more metal in the car. So that's gonna do it for this one. This was neat. This was fun. I'm kind of speechless. This came out better than I expected. So take a chance. Go out and try to build something instead of just buying something. If you have the money to buy all the parts, great, do it. But if you don't, take a shot. It doesn't hurt anything. I don't have the money to buy all the parts, and I buy them anyway, but we saved some money on this one. I'm getting eyes rolled at me as I speak. So that's gonna do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. We've got a lot of stuff coming down the pipe. Obviously, all the rear sheet metal. And then I want to get into the motor after that. So it's hopefully going to start coming together quick. Everything, all the big stuff is here. It's really just going to be how fast can I get it ready to go on, and how fast can I put it on. I'm tired of listening to this. So definitely going to want to stay tuned if you've enjoyed it so far. Subscribe down below. Make sure you comment, like the video, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. I'm trying to be better about my socials. I'm not a social media guy, but I'm trying to be better about it. I'm trying to have fun with it. So follow me on there. Give me some motivation. That's it. We'll see you guys next time.